You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. If you stuck around earlier, I was filling in for Sam Jordan on Sport Talk with Sam Jordan. If you want to hear Sam, never fear. Sam will be back tomorrow at his usual spot at 7 p.m. But I have a lot to get to today because we are in the mode where there's a lot of things happening in sports, right? You have a lot of the NFL offseason starting to come to a head, right? We've got all of the pro days coming up. We just finished the NFL draft combine. The NFL draft is right around the corner. You've got March Madness going on. We are right in the middle of it, and it is as mad as any March has ever been. We have all of that stuff. We have the NBA. We're coming up to the NBA playoffs. The end of the NBA regular season now is around the time that if you haven't been paying attention before, you should probably start paying attention on some level. All of this stuff is happening. So we got a lot to get to. I want to start with the NFL stuff because I always want to start with the NFL stuff. I love football. Free agency news. The Jaguars released Allen Hurns. Allen Hurns is a big deal. I don't know what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. They have already lost Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. And those were two very key receivers for them. And I know that Blake Bortles played the best football that Blake Bortles has ever played last year. And I think Blake deserves to get paid, by the way. I'm not here to poo-poo Blake on any particular level. But part of the success of Blake Bortles was those receivers. Those guys are fast. They're speedy. They make up for the fact that Blake Bortles is really not the most accurate quarterback out there. And I think that allowing those guys to walk could be a bit of a mistake. Now, in terms of the construction of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think that you should give some faith to that organization, especially Tom Coughlin. Since they've been there, I feel like they have made a number of the correct moves. So I'm not going to doubt Coughlin, and I'm not going to doubt what the Jaguars are doing, but I am scratching my head a little bit as to what it is that they are in fact doing, because that division was a division that they won last year, but it wasn't like they won it handily. Okay. They just held off Tennessee, and the Titans really should have won that division, snatched a few games, had defeat where they should have won, right? Snatched a few games from the jaws of victory. I think that they really should have won more games last year. But that being said, I'm not certain exactly what Jacksonville is going to do offensively. Yes, they can still run the ball. Yes, Leonard Fournette is still there. Yes, Blake Bortles should probably play around where he played last year. Their offensive line is still really good. I just don't know who's going to be catching the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which maybe that's a question that we'll answer in the draft. There are a number of good receivers out there to be drafted if you want them. I just don't think that letting a known commodity and letting a couple of known commodities go, I don't know if that's necessarily the right call, especially a guy that you had in Allen Hurns already under contract. Like, maybe you didn't want to try and renegotiate anything with Allen Robinson. That's fine. But you already had Hurns, and I don't know what the reason for releasing him is, but it just seems silly to me to take weapons away from Blake Bortles when he was playing so well, in large part because he had a complement of weapons that made a lot of sense. And I think that this can open up things for the Titans in that division, should the Titans be able to add and build on the success that they have had already in terms of the personnel decisions that they've made. So that's something to look out for, I think, in a big way. The other thing that I came across was that Julio Jones last year, who struggled a lot, even though we know Julio to be an exceptional receiver and physically one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league, right? It's a toss-up at some point between him and Odell Beckham and AJ Green. If you could go with any 3 of those guys, and I can't, and Antonio Brown, can't forget Antonio Brown, but any of those 4 guys, you would be hard pressed to be making a wrong decision if you went with any of those 4 guys. But Julio Jones, I think by far of the 4, and maybe even some lesser receivers as well, he didn't play anywhere near that level at all. And it's insane to me because he is by far the best receiver that the Falcons have. And I understand the Falcons are a little bit loaded at receiver, but there's still no excuse for that. It's not like Julio Jones declined when I watched the Falcons play last year. It's not like I watched a Julio Jones that was slower. He wasn't particularly nagged with injuries all season long. He just didn't play well. And Julio Jones had the single best wide receiver game last year, according to Pro Football Focus. They rated him a 99.9. And that's an incredibly high rating. They don't give that out very often. And I just think that it's weird. I think it's weird that Julio Jones was not able to replicate that success. I believe it was the Week 13 game that the Falcons played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that he was rated very highly. I just don't know how they could not consistently get that to happen, especially in the playoffs against the Eagles. And I understand that the Eagles are really good, and I understand that defensively it's tough. But Julio Jones, I think, is too big of a factor offensively to say the Eagles are so good they erased Julio Jones from a game. And also Julio Jones got erased from a number of games, not just that one. And at this point, I have to wonder if the best defense against Julio Jones is the guy calling plays on offense. And I've been questioning this for a little while with Steve Sarkisian. And I think that, look, I'm not here to just tear down Sark and suggest that he doesn't know what he's doing. But he made the leap from college to the NFL, and the Falcons have regressed offensively. Now, I think that there's a certain level of regression that Atlanta was due for last year, because the way that they played the season before, in which they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots, the way that they played that season, I don't know that that was sustainable. I don't think that you could realistically expect the Falcons to do that on an annual basis. But where they were and where they fell to, in my opinion, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, none. I mean, you have to explain to me what it is that's going on there. I don't think that it makes any particular kind of sense. And you can go ahead and correct me on that one if you think I'm wrong. 423-800-8949 is the Nooga Radio phone line here at Nooga Radio 92.7 FM. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. And I think that Sarkisian might be the problem. I don't think that Atlanta necessarily went downfield as often as they should have. And I don't think that Julio got involved in the offense as he should have. I think that there were a lot of plays where Julio Jones wound up being a decoy player. I think that a lot of traffic in the middle of the field a lot of the routes that Julio ran were in the middle of the field where there was a lot of traffic. And I think that there's a certain level of Julio Jones going up top that you want to see. And also Matt Ryan is a master of the skinny post. And yet we didn't really see that much of Julio playing in those, running those routes as well. So I don't know if Steve Sarkisian is the right guy for this team, right? Like, I'm not going to just stomp on the guy and say, well, he's incompetent, doesn't know what he's doing, because I've seen Steve Sarkisian coach college football offenses. The guy clearly knows what he's doing. Even in the national title game where he was coaching Alabama, I think he had to pull out all the stops for Alabama to still be in that game against Clemson that they lost to Deshaun Watson and Dabo Swinney. I think that he had to do all of the things that he had to do. I mean, trick plays, flea flickers, a bunch of stuff to keep them in the game. And they still lost by one possession. I mean, it's not like he did a bad job. So I believe that Steve Sarkisian is a guy that's got a wealth of football knowledge, but college and the NFL are not the same sport. They're not. They're very different games. A lot of the same skills transfer because you are still playing football, but there are things that are so different tactically and logistically, especially when you transfer from a spread offense to a traditional NFL offense. And even though NFL offenses now have more spread concepts and do play what looks to be more like a spread, it's still not a college spread. Okay, it's not. And I don't know that Steve Sarkisian has made that adaptation particularly well. And I understand why Atlanta's going to stick with him another year. There is a certain logic to not trying to change an offensive coordinator every year so that your quarterback is looking at his third offensive coordinator in as many years. I get that. But also you have to know when something is not working, when something is inherently broken, and stop trying to use it, right? Like I have a vacuum cleaner that I should probably get rid of, except I've had it for so long and I'm also incredibly stingy. I don't want to get rid of my vacuum. This is my deal right now. And you have things in your house that you say to yourself, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll make it work. And you should probably just get rid of it, in all honesty. But no, you hang on to it because you're trying to fix it. You're trying to make it work, whether that's a lawnmower or something. I mean, we all have that stuff. For me, it's my vacuum cleaner. Something's wrong with the filter. I'm trying to fix it. I don't want to buy another vacuum. This one is perfectly fine outside of that. And yet I should probably get rid of the thing, right? Like that's probably where we're at with this. But you don't want to get rid of it too early, because if you could fix it, well, then you probably shouldn't have. So you're in a no man's land situation right now. I think Atlanta's on a wait and see thing with Matt Ryan, but I just think that NFL windows close especially fast, right? Like the window of an NFL team that's got a chance to win a title, these things do not stay open as long as you would like. When the Seattle Seahawks were in the Super Bowl in 2012, I don't think that we thought that that window would be closing the way that it did. And yet almost all of the defensive players that were on that Seattle roster, they're not there. Russell Wilson is now the face of the franchise. I don't necessarily know offensively what they're going to do, because outside of Lockett, I don't see the wide receiving depth. They don't have Jimmy Graham anymore as a tight end. They don't have a running game still. That offensive line is in shambles and falling apart, getting worse by the day. That window closed. And I look at Atlanta and I see Atlanta as a team where the window is still open for them. But if they don't find the right pieces at offensive coordinator, if they don't get their right tackle situation sorted, if they don't get a lot of pressure on defense, because I know that they've had a really good set of drafts where they've acquired guys like Vic Beasley. I think they just have to maintain that. But I think if you don't get the kind of push from either your coaching or your personnel that you'd like, your window's going to close, and it's going to close a whole lot faster than you think. This is a team that was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago, but just because that was just 2 years ago does not mean that that window can't slam shut on you. It absolutely can. And will, if you're not careful. I mean, absolutely do not underestimate that. I think that's something that I think fans overlook all the time, is how fast windows close on teams. And this is every sport. Don't you remember, by the way, a few years ago, it feels like a few years ago, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, the Braves were really good and they beat the Nationals all the time. And their main competition was the Phillies in that division. Now the Braves are rebuilding. The Nationals are the top of the division. The Phillies think that they can win it. Like, things change, and they change very quickly. I mean, the Marlins are bad, but they're always bad. But it's easier for a good team to go from good to mediocre than a bad team to jump the other direction. And I think if Atlanta's not careful, the Falcons could be a team that go from a legitimate Super Bowl contender to not being one at all in an incredibly short amount of time, especially when you give the fact that that division, the NFC South, is a tough division to play football in. The Saints are tough. The Panthers are tough. You cannot write yourself into the playoffs in that division. And you're always going to have those losses that you're going to catch at the hands of the Buccaneers, because they are well coached. I think Dirk Cutter's a good coach. I don't know why those pieces can't come together. So you're not playing in an easy division of football. Your offensive coordinator seems to not be able to make the best use of your best player. And I'm incredibly worried about the Falcons in that particular regard. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose is the show. And so I want to change gears here and talk about basketball a little bit. I don't know if you have any kids that play basketball, or you know any kids that play basketball, but if you do know any kids that at least love basketball, then you know that kids love Steph Curry. Everybody loves Steph Curry. We also love Damian Lillard. We also love Kyrie Irving. All the guys with handles that shoot threes well are what's popular right now. When I was a kid, all of the guys that shot long twos and hit fourth quarter buzzer beaters, those were the guys that were really popular when I was a kid. So like when I was a kid, everybody loved Paul Pierce, and we loved Kobe, and we loved T-Mac. Right? Like those are the guys that everybody idolized when I was a child. But everybody shoots threes now. And a lot of it has to do with Steph Curry. And So the basketball committee, right? The World Basketball Committee, the USA Basketball and the NBA have released a set of rules and standards for youth programs. Among the program's rule changes is that they're eliminating 3-point field goals for players between the ages of 7 and 8 and 9 and 11 to promote the idea of shooting from a developmentally appropriate distance. And I have to say, I like the idea a lot. I don't know if it'll work, right? Like, I think it's a great idea because you've got 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds chucking up threes or trying to. And what this is doing is causing guys to have absolutely awful form. And the last thing that I think we want in the NBA is a bunch of kids that shoot like Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's shot works for Lonzo, but there are very few people who that shot would actually work for. There is, you could count on one hand probably the amount of people that shot would actually work for. That is a hideous shot that, yeah, when you're rattled and when you are tired, it's hard to repeat and it's hard to replicate, which is the whole point of having a good shooting form, is that it's something that's burned into your muscle memory. And no matter how tired you are, you're always going to shoot the ball the same way. That's one of the reasons why you try and practice shooting with good form, kids. That's exactly why. And Lonzo can't do that. And we saw earlier in the season, I don't know whether Lonzo was nervous or whether he just didn't fit in on the team yet, but he was shooting threes and he was missing an alarming amount of them. And they were very bad in terms of the result of the shot, much less the actual look of the thing, which is always going to look bad. I think that this is actually going to help that in a lot of ways. Kids are going to have to learn how to shoot. And we've seen it happen in a lot of Eastern European countries already. The idea is to get kids to be more creative with the basketball, to have more ideas than just, I'm going to chuck up threes, right? Just to make sure that kids are still developmentally sound. I think that we've seen this happen before because kids will just follow whoever. Allen Iverson was also very popular when I was a kid. And one of the things that every kid did in my neighborhood, you try to work on your handles. Now, I still don't have handles. Like, I just never did. And one of the things too is that I just had really long arms when I was a kid. Like, I looked like a stick figure. So I essentially never had to have great handles because I would just reach my arms up in the air. And even though I was short, most people could still not get the ball from me. It was bizarre. But most kids worked on their handles and nothing else. Right? I know kids that didn't ever learn how to shoot because they were trying to dribble like Allen Iverson. Players have an effect on what the future kids play like. And these rule changes that are trying to make it so that kids are restricted from like playing like their favorite basketball players until they learn how to play. Because you've got to learn the rules before you break the rules. You've got to learn the rules before you break the rules. Like, this is in everything. This is like filmmaking, right? Steven Spielberg talks about this all the time. Steven Spielberg, as a film director, will sometimes break the rules, quote unquote, of film directing. And that's fine because he's Steven Spielberg. He already knows the rules. He already knows what a good movie looks like. So when he makes a decision that isn't conventional, it's on purpose. He knows what he's doing. Kids need to learn that. Kids need to know the basics and the fundamentals so that when they decide to do something that's maybe not so fundamental, like shooting a three-pointer on a fast break, there better be a good reason for that. Right? And not just, I saw Steph do it on TV. That's probably not the best reason. And if we're going to want to have good, watchable basketball going on into the future, this is the kind of thing that I think kids are actually going to have to learn. I don't know if they're implementing this kind of thing for middle schools and stuff like that, but I think that they probably should, to be completely honest with you. Because kids play, and also for AAU stuff too, because kids play more in those things, especially the kids that are going to be going to the NBA. When I was younger, kids would just play out in the street, and we didn't even have a 3-point line, so that was irrelevant entirely. But yeah, I think that there's a certain level of care that needs to be taken when training kids to play sports in the future, because if you don't make sure that they know the fundamentals today, you will have a completely unwatchable sport 15 years from now. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. My name is Keon Rose. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. Next.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
VW Chattanooga will build the new SUV. It will be a 5-passenger SUV based on a 7-passenger Atlas already in production at the Chattanooga plant. VW is expected to invest about $340 million in the Chattanooga plant to expand production. North Carolina authorities say 76 people have been arrested in 8 southeastern states on charges of child pornography or exploiting children. In Tennessee and Georgia, a number of suspected offenders were arrested, ranged in age from 17 to 73, include a postal worker, a mechanic, daycare administrator, and even a magician. One of the buildings of the Forgotten Child Fund sustained thousands of dollars worth of damage after someone pummeled right through. The applications building on East Main is boarded up to cover the damage, the cost estimated at about $70,000. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 News Now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through your nighttime. Cold overnight, lows mid and upper 20s. Now for your Wednesday, look for some sunshine with a breeze out of the north, though. Light cold, highs up around 40 with more mainly dry and cold weather expected through Friday. Celebrate the new year with Dixieland Fireworks. Locally owned with the largest selection around. A Black Hat dealer with the lowest prices in Dixie. Dixieland Fireworks just off I-75 on Ringgold Road, East Ridge. And I'm Sworn Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Hey guys, do you need a mini man break? We know how busy you are, but don't let your hairstyle suffer. Come see the stylist at Sport Clips at Hamilton Place and let them treat you to the MVP experience. A precision haircut, legendary hot steam towel, massaging shampoo, and relaxing neck and shoulder treatment, all while watching your favorite sports. No appointment needed. Sport Clips at Hamilton Place, located in front of Home Depot.
For years, you have heard these words, cash, 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 and more cash. Now, Rick wants you to buy on U.S. Gold American coins. Are you tired of making 1% on your investments with the banks, even 2 or 3% at best? Well, don't miss out. Stop by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds at 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. Buy American. Buy now. Gold is on the rise. Certified U.S. Gold American Eagle coins at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga.
Mom's Furniture, her boxes of paperback romances, Mom's Estate. Oh, call Dan. Dan will help you get on with your life. Let Dan clear the old house, take care of everything. He'll hand you a nice check. 314-4034. Dan, the cleanup man. 314-4034. In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with whom? Another state? Another country? Get a local independent insurance agent with Auto Owners Insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. GossInsurance.com. Goss. GossInsurance.com. Representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500. 875-2500. Want a business phone system that gives you Outlook integration, Salesforce integration, smartphone integration? Why desk sets and expensive lines? Turn smartphones into a cohesive business system. Call Signal 619-1200. Signal Voice and Data 619-1200.
Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
Sharp, opinionated, thought-provoking, clutch with Keon Rose.
You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in. So, can we talk about Ronald Acuna right now? Because I like him, right? I've been following the Braves a little bit during spring training, which is unusual for me. Not following the Braves. That's my job. But spring training, I usually just wait till the season starts. I don't really follow spring training storylines like that. The thing that made it a little bit interesting was a lot of the guys that didn't get signed. Eric Hosmer eventually wound up with the Padres, and Mike Moustakas got signed just forever later. But I usually don't focus in on spring training, right? I don't know if any of you do that, but I usually don't. I usually just wait till opening day and then I care about baseball again. But Ronald Acuna has got my attention. And the reason why is because he's a special player. And there's just sports, right, where it's obvious to figure out who it is that's special. We saw LeBron, and LeBron's special. If you saw Bryce Harper in high school or Mike Trout in high school, my God, Mike Trout never looked like a kid. Mike Trout was born looking like Mike Trout, just a smaller Mike Trout, because that guy, the way he carries himself, just his size, his confidence when he goes to hit. And by the way, Mike Trout has not struck out this spring training at all. He's special. They're like special guys. And I feel the same way about Robert Acuna. When I watch that guy hit, when I watch how athletic he is special. And I mean Hall of Fame caliber career type special, which is weird to say this early, but if he stays healthy and everything goes right for him, I don't see why not. He could easily be one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And the Braves sent him back down to the minor leagues. And this boggles my mind because we already know he's good. And I understand that there's a bit of procedure that goes into sending him down to the minors and having him come back up. But last year, Ronald Acuna already dominated 3 levels of minor league baseball. Like, he already dominated AAA, AA, and single A. So I don't know what he has to prove on that level. And Ronald Acuna has been the Braves' best player this spring. And it's not even really close. And so I don't know, what is the point of sending him back down? Because it doesn't help him get better. We already know he can dominate down there. It doesn't make the Braves better because you have a guy that could clearly be one of the best players on your roster, not on your major league roster. And it doesn't help the fans because we don't get to see the guy who could be A, the face of the franchise for the rest of his career, and B, a guy who is legitimately one of the most exciting players to watch, not just in Atlanta, in Major League Baseball, just all of Major League Baseball. Yes, Ronald Acuna could legitimately be more exciting to watch than Bryce Harper and Mike Trout and Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, he could be more exciting to watch than all of them. I didn't say better. But he could be foreseeably more exciting to watch. How does this help anybody? I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that the Braves are doing. I don't think that this is a move that makes any particular kind of sense. I don't. And I know that teams do this, but there's just some levels of procedure. We just have to get rid of it. Like, we just do stuff sometimes just to do it. which I'm not a fan of, right? I'm that guy. I question a lot of things, right? I have gotten into arguments with friends and family over why I don't put my napkin in my lap when I eat food, right? And this is very reminiscent of a Hannibal Buress joke, but the point is, I feel like I can get the food from my plate to my mouth without it falling in my lap, and do so many times a day, right? I want the napkin on the table because it's closer to my face if it's on the table. I don't put the napkin in my lap. That's it. I don't do it. I'm sure you have something that you just don't do that everybody thinks that you should do, and there's no good reason why. Like, people used to do it that way. Like, you should wear, is it that you wear white after Labor Day or you don't wear white? Because I know people that try and follow that rule, and it's like, why? I know that there used to be a reason why people wore white after Labor Day, but I don't care. I've never met any of those people, and it doesn't matter. Most of them are dead. Why does it matter? I don't know. There are just some traditions, we do them, and it makes no sense. Like, there are some traditions that we have, and we follow them because it brings our families together, right? Like Thanksgiving and Christmas, like holidays are great traditions that we have. We just get together as a family, or you have a day off from work. I mean, I understand why those traditions exist, but there's some traditions where I could not honestly tell you what the purpose of them is. And one of the things that we have in baseball is we have a guy who's perfectly capable of playing in the major leagues, who's perfectly capable of contributing to his team, and they're not going to start the season with him because of just general baseball convention. I don't follow it. Doesn't make any sense to me. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. Yeah, the Mike Trout thing, though. Mike Trout has not struck out in spring training. And if Mike Trout is not the AL MVP, I'll eat a sponge. I don't know, man. Like, it's incredible to me. He is like the best player in Major League Baseball. It doesn't even feel close a lot of the times, right? Like, he just is so good that it almost feels like a shame that the Angels can't really be a legitimate playoff contender when you consider how good that guy is. There isn't anybody in baseball better than him. And I would say that, a guy like Bryce Harper is pretty close. And that's the reason why Bryce Harper generally wins National League MVP or is at least in consideration for it. And I would say that Mike Trout is a more complete player than Aaron Judge and a more complete player than Giancarlo Stanton, who strikes out a ton. Mike Trout is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. And so when I see a guy that's at that level of talent and that has that same level of talent, I find it bizarre. I do, that he's not playing. You're going to send him back down to the minors for what? He had a ridiculous batting average at all three levels last year. Like, I don't know what more the guy's got to prove. I think you're just doing it just to do it. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM. So let's shift gears here. Jump back to the NFL, because the Jaguars released Mercedes Lewis. He does feel disrespected by the way he was cut. He thinks that he deserves better than what he got. They didn't release him much sooner. And when you release a guy late in free agency, he doesn't have an opportunity to negotiate for the kind of contract that he'd like when there are teams that still have a bunch of needs. Now you just sort of wind up being slim pickings for the teams that are left. They don't need you, so they don't need to pay you a lot of money, or they don't need to offer you a lot of money. And so he feels like that was unfair. But again, Mercedes Lewis is another one of these guys that I thought played really well for the Jaguars and was a weapon for Blake Bortles to use, as well as pass blocker. He wasn't bad. So what I want to know is, what on earth are the Jaguars doing? Honest to goodness. Because at this point, they don't have Mercedes Lewis, they don't have Allen Hurns, and they don't have Allen Robinson. And all three of those guys were, I think, fairly important to the offense that Jacksonville had last year. This is a Jacksonville team that is not a powerhouse offensively. They grind you down with their defense, and then Blake Bortles makes the plays that he needs to make in order for this team to have a shot at being successful. I don't know if this is a team that can afford to lose offensive weapons. And I don't know off the top of my head what Jacksonville's got going on with draft picks, but I think that unless they have a ton, unless they have what Indianapolis has got or what Cleveland has got, where they've just stockpiled draft picks. And to my knowledge at this moment, I don't believe that to be the case. Unless they have done this, I don't think that they should just be allowing players to walk or releasing guys. I think they should be fighting for especially those skill positions on the outside. I just don't know what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. Right? Like the Blake Bortles thing makes sense, and nothing that they have done since makes a lick of sense at all. Makes a single lick of sense. And the more players that I look through and I find that have been released from Jacksonville or who have not been re-signed by Jacksonville, the more that I am convinced that the Tennessee Titans could come out on top in that division. Now, I thought that they were going to come out on top in the division last year. They did make the playoffs, but they were second in the division. But, I mean, I would have to stand by that pick more so now than ever because I feel like the Titans are getting better. I feel like Jacksonville's getting worse. And I'm still not sold on the notion that Blake Bortles can do last year what he did again without weapons, right? Like, I'm not a Blake Bortles hater. I have been one of the guys that have basically thought that Blake Bortles wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. But with weapons, Blake Bortles is not the kind of football player that's going to put the team on his back. No, that's not him. I don't know what tricks Tom Coughlin and that team has up their sleeves, but it better be something big. All right, so now to the spectacles of sports. Because LeVar Ball is always a spectacle. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about LeVar Ball because LeVar Ball unto himself is... He's a crazy person. He's a kook. And I think that giving him attention validates his kookiness. But they have a reality show. And I don't watch the reality show because I don't really watch reality TV anyway. And if I did, that's not the show, right? Like most of the reality TV I watch winds up being stuff with Gordon Ramsay in it because I like to watch Gordon Ramsay yell at people, generally speaking. But I don't really watch a lot of reality TV. But I certainly wouldn't watch that show. I just don't have time for whatever's going on in the Ball family life. But someone posted a snippet on Twitter that LiAngelo Ball, his son, the one that got caught shoplifting in China and the whole ordeal that happened there, and he ended up being pulled out from UCLA. He had to do this ice treatment. A lot of boxers have done it in the past. I know Floyd Mayweather does the treatment. It's like you put your body in these temperatures that are below freezing right before you start training, and it's supposed to help with muscle recovery. I don't know how the science works on all of that, but he was going to do it, and LeVar was there, and LiAngelo got tattoos, and LeVar Ball hates tattoos, apparently. And LiAngelo was afraid that his dad was going to be upset that he got tattoos. And I should point out that LiAngelo is a college-age guy. And even though LeVar hates tattoos, the thing that I thought was interesting was how afraid LiAngelo was that his dad was going to see these tattoos. And sure enough, he comes out with the tattoos, and LeVar Ball looks like he's going to cry. Like tears were coming to his eyes. And he called his son a fool, and that he drew all over himself and all this stuff. And that he wasn't sure where his son was going to live when they got back home, because if you're going to live with me, then you're going to follow my rules and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. So when we say that Lonzo should tell his dad to shut up, exactly what are we suggesting? We're suggesting that Lonzo Ball is going to stand up to his dad. And if LiAngelo Ball, who is at this point old enough to be a sophomore in college, is afraid that his dad is going to see his tattoos, because he looked really afraid, right? Like not reality TV afraid, like actually afraid. And I know what that afraid, it was very triggering for me, actually, because I know what that afraid looks like. Okay? I grew up in a black family, and you don't want to make dad upset, but this is not something that I've had to go through as a grown person. Right? I don't know what it is for most guys, right? Like my dad passed away when I was in high school, but I know when I was a kid, I was that afraid of my dad. I just imagine that you reach a certain point where your dad just kind of lets you live your life. Like he might be pissed at you, but you shouldn't be afraid. Am I wrong on that one? Yeah, like so all of a sudden this notion that Lonzo's going to suddenly stand up to LeVar Ball. Yeah, right. No, I don't necessarily believe in that. So that's one of the big spectacles of the day that I saw. And the other big spectacle, and the one that I just find to be absolutely ridiculous, is that Floyd Mayweather is making a fighting comeback, but he's going to do MMA. Floyd Mayweather wants to fight Conor McGregor in MMA. So he's come back, and I forget the name of the camp that he's joined to come back and make this comeback, but it's supposed to be a really good mixed martial arts training camp. So at least he's done that properly, because a lot of people just come back and just join any old camp, and you can't do that. Floyd Mayweather thinks that he's going to come back at the age of 40 and do mixed martial arts, which is a sport that he has never done. Sure, it does incorporate elements of boxing, but people kick you in the head, people knee you in the face, you catch elbows from every direction. This is not a sport that Floyd Mayweather wants any part of. Floyd Mayweather has predicated his entire existence in combat sports in not being touched. That has been the basis of his existence. And all of a sudden, he's going to fight in a sport where being touched is the sport. I don't see this one going well for Floyd. And if Floyd were to fight Conor in particular, hey man, are we sure Floyd Mayweather, the old man's not going to die in the octagon? Because I'm not sure about that. I'm not 100% certain that Floyd Mayweather is not going to get rolled up into a ball and slam dunked into a dumpster. I don't know this to be absolutely true. I do know that Floyd Mayweather is going to be completely and utterly out of his depths. This is something that, hey, if Floyd Mayweather had started doing this 10 years ago, I give him a puncher's chance. I don't give him any chance in success in this. Not only is Floyd not going to be any good fighting Conor McGregor, I don't think Floyd's going to be any good fighting anybody. And I mean anybody in that sport. It's a tough sport to learn. There are multiple aspects of it, not just throwing your hands, but also kicking and knees and jiu-jitsu. You have to know elements of judo and Muay Thai. I mean, come on, man. Floyd Mayweather has boxed his whole life, and he's still going to be the GOAT boxer. But you have got to be kidding me with this idea that Floyd Mayweather is going to be able to defend himself from a spinning back kick should he ever encounter one. It's silly. It's silly, and Floyd's silly. And if they put on this fight and try and charge people actual money to see it, they're silly. And if people actually pay real money to see it, they're silly, goofy. And I tried to warn everybody last time. Did I not try to warn you all last time about Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor? What did I say? I said it was going to be an awful, awful fight. Don't buy that pay-per-view. And people bought it. And I don't know if you did. I'm not accusing you. But it was an awful fight. We shouldn't have bought it. And if for some reason this fight does end up happening, McGregor Mayweather 2, only this time in the octagon, I'm telling you, don't buy this. Conor McGregor is going to kill Floyd. Well, then maybe buy it, right? Like if you actually want to see a grown man have the possibility of dying in an octagon, a 40-year-old man with children, because Floyd is a 40-year-old father of 3. If you want to see that, then okay, go ahead and buy it. But if you want to see an actual quality fight with two people of even skills trading blows, you're not going to find it here. Okay? Floyd is a genius. I think he's a genius. If Floyd had started his career doing mixed martial arts, maybe he's one of the best ever. I think he's that brilliant mentally in terms of understanding what to do with his body and where to go and what decisions to make, right? Like he intuitively understands it. And also he's a student of the game, especially when it came to boxing. If he were to become a student of mixed martial arts in that same way, I'd be hard pressed to tell you that Floyd Mayweather couldn't be successful. But there is almost nothing that grueling and that demanding that if you started at 40, you're going to reach the top. Like if you start playing golf at 40, if you start playing basketball at 40, you can get pretty good. You can go to the local YMCA and dominate a few guys if you practice enough. But you're never going to be in the NBA if you start at 40. At 40, even Floyd Mayweather has to think and has to know deep down in his heart of hearts how ridiculous this is. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com, 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you all in 24 hours.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9.